When I think of the Arkham games, the first thing I think of is the iconic list of villains. Joker, Scarecrow, Harley Quinn, Ivy, Talia al Ghul, Catwoman. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, most of Batman's villains are pretty terrible people. They do anything they can to incite as much chaos as possible. Calm chaos, like, subscribe, comment, thank you. And they're crazy enough to even be considered monsters. But some of them really are. Not metaphorically, literal monsters. Ooh! Fuck. When I started replaying Arkham Knight, I completely forgot about that jump scare, so that genuinely scared me so bad. After he scares you, he flies away, and we hear him screeching in the distance. I use the zoom feature to see if I can find him, but instead, I find Joker aura farming on top of the statue. Joker. I rotated to high ground, and that's when I saw it. A giant humanoid bat creature flying through the sky. I glided through the rooftops and tackled him like I was prime Bruce Smith.
Oh shit, what the fuck?
Once I got him to the ground, I took a sample of his blood and sent it to Alfred.
Hey Alfred, what the fuck was that?
He ran an analysis of the blood and found that it was heavily mutated. But he did find a partial match to a doctor named Kirk Langstrom. And Dr. Langstrom just so happens to be leasing a basement laboratory with his wife in Chinatown. We go to the coordinates and end up in an alley near Ace Chemicals. Once inside, we take an elevator down and find Langstrom's laboratory. We walk in and find a video documenting the experiment that he and his wife were conducting. In this video, we find out that they were trying to create a cure for deafness. And the way they were going to do that was by splicing human DNA with the DNA of, hold on, Desmodus rotundus, which is the scientific name for a vampire bat. Now, surely he's gonna run some tests before trying it on actual people, right? Wrong. This dude straps himself into the chair and splices his own DNA with the DNA of the vampire bat. Now, I'm not a scientist by any means, but I could have hypothesized that that would not end well, and it didn't. As the video continues, Francine gets killed off screen, and we hear the same screeching we heard earlier in the night. Then the video ends, and we find Francine dead on the floor. After that, we search his lab for any clues we can use to stop Man-Bat. We find a computer, use it to isolate the Man-Bat signature from his DNA, and create a cure to turn him back to normal. I went back to the rooftops, searching for any sign of him. Then I heard it, screeching, echoing through the sky.
Oh, there he is.
I chased him down, injected the cure into him, and it did nothing. So I'm gonna need to track him down again and give him his final dose. I found him flying between the buildings on Founders Island. I wrestled him to the ground, injected the second dose, and this time it incapacitated him. I put him in the back of my Batmobile, and by the time we made it to the GCPD, he was a naked old man. Once he was locked in his cell, he asked about his wife, and I had no choice but to tell him the truth.
She's dead, Kirk.
No. She can't be. I didn't. What have I done?
Now that he's locked up with no possible chance of escaping, it's time to... He escaped. This is actually an Easter egg, which I'm sure you guys are aware of considering this game came out almost 11 years ago. But if you aren't, if you play the game on Halloween, he escapes from his cell, jump scares you again.
Oh. I fucking knew it was gonna happen and I still got scared, bro.
Then disappears. Another interesting thing about this mission is if you go back to the lab after locking up Man-Bat, you'll find that his wife's body is gone and Forever My Love is written in blood on the TV screen. Now, what I think happened is when she was attacked by her husband, he somehow infected her with the same DNA that turned him into Man-Bat. This caused her to somehow resurrect from the dead, turn into a humanoid bat creature, and is now somewhere out there looking for her man, which I think is kind of romantic. But now we can actually move on to our next monster. We get a call from Nightwing, and he tells us that Iron Heights Penitentiary has crashed. Now, you're probably wondering how a penitentiary can crash, and that's because it's a giant blimp. Again, I could have told you that that would not end well, And this time, I know what I'm talking about. I played Prison Architect. But regardless, we make our way over to Gotham Bay and see the airship floating on top of the water. Once we get inside, we call Nightwing to give us a debrief on the situation. And he tells us that he knows nothing. So we're going into this completely blind. The deeper we went, the more it seemed like the airship hadn't been attacked from the outside, but ripped apart from the inside. We find one of the surviving guards, and when we ask him what happened, he tells us that the prison was holding Killer Croc. Somehow, Croc broke free, destroyed the engine, and now the entire prison is falling apart, with him still lurking somewhere inside. Then, we run into this inmate locked in a cell. He tells us that he can't handle any more tests and to not send him back. This reveals a lot more information than you think. This guy is on the floor begging not to be sent back. But it's not because Killer Croc is loose inside the prison. It's because he's afraid of whatever these tests are. Now, if you ask me, something fishy is going on here. You get it? Killer Croc swims in the water like a fish. Anyway, we push forward, and that's when we see our first sign of Killer Croc.
Oh, hell no.
We save this guard and ask him why they had Croc imprisoned here. And his response raises more questions than answers. Specifically when he says that Rankin, the warden, was playing with fire. Now, this could just mean that it was a crazy idea to imprison a giant half-man, half-crocodile monster in a prison flying in the sky. But again, I think it's more than that. And the only way to find out is to go deeper in the airship. We find the warden trapped in the water. But before he can tell us what's going on, Killer Croc jumps out, grabs him, and runs away. Damn. Almost got him. We chase after him, but we're ambushed by inmates. And that's when the GOAT himself comes through for backup.
I'm Nightwing. Ow, he fucking slapped me.
Playing as other characters is one of the best parts about this game, especially the dual team takedowns. That shit is so cool. Now, during this fight, one of the inmates says, unfortunately, Nightwing didn't let him finish his sentence, but he says, "You're just like the warden, both of you." Now, I don't know if you guys noticed, but Batman and Nightwing are in here fighting like it's Royal Rumble. What could the warden possibly be doing to these guys? After we finish beating the shit out of them, this guard tells us that we need 2 key cards in order to open the door. And the only way to get them is by tracking down guards who skydived out of the airship before it crashed. So I hit up Alfred and he sent me the approximate location of 2 guards so I can take their badges. We find the first guard hanging by his parachute on top of a crane. And unfortunately, he's dead. But he did have a key card though. We go to the second location and find the guard surrounded by thugs. Hey, leave him alone. So I beat him to a bloody pulp. I don't know why I became British there for a second. Actually, yes I do. It's because I wrote that in the script. And that. And that. And this. We ask the guard for his key card and he hesitates. He tells us that they were only doing their job. At this point, they're not even being subtle with it. They're basically directly telling us that something corrupt was going on in the prison. We make it back with the key cards, open the door, and find a video explaining everything they've ever done. If you're gonna break the law, the least you could do is not put video evidence on a flat screen TV that automatically plays whenever someone walks in. It even repeats, just in case you missed something. But this video helps us find out that they tracked down Killer Croc to his den and captured him. They brought him back to the airship and ran experiments on him to test his regenerative capabilities. They tortured him so bad that his physiology began to change, worsening his appearance. Then they used the prisoners as test subjects to see if they could give this ability to normal humans. Safe to say there was definitely some corruption going on here. We make it to the room where Croc was tortured, but this time it's the warden in the chair. Croc is telling him that he made his condition worse and he needs to fix it. But the warden tells him that there is nothing that can be done. That's when Croc decides he's gonna give the warden a taste of his own medicine. And that's when I decide I'm gonna beat the shit out of Killer Croc. Dual team takedown.
He just fucking RKO'd Killer Croc.
Dual team takedown number 2. Dual team takedown number 3. Ah. Now that we, yes, we beat Killer Croc, it's time to confront the real monster. You like that?
Monster deserves to be
Well, I
put
stole it
down.
from Batman. So,
There's only one monster here.
we bring Croc and the Warden to the GCPD, lock them up, and save the day. Before the video ends, I just want to say thank you to everyone. Hold on. Let me take off the mask. Holy shit, it's sweaty as fuck in here. I don't know if you guys can see that, but hold on. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone. I genuinely appreciate every single one of you. The support on my last video was actually crazy. So if you guys have any ideas that you want me to do, comment them below and I'll see what I can do. Deuces.